Alright, I have my Spider-Man Homecoming shirt on and I'm ready to talk about Spider-Man some more. So we got the amazing trailer for Morbius. Yay! The movie that everybody asked for. So Sony's at it again trying to make their Spider-Man villain universe happen, and it couldn't be less clear what that means. So the main two things from this trailer are the big references to other Spider-Man properties. The first is there's some graffiti on the wall that appears to be a picture of the Raimi version of Spider-Man. And then the second is that Michael Keaton just shows up at the end of this trailer and we have to assume that he's playing the Vulture again, which is crazy. Let's talk about these weird-ass decisions and where they're coming from. So the first thing that stood out to me is when there's a title card that says from the studio that brought you Spider-Man, Homecoming, Far From Home, and Venom, which made me laugh because I think all of those are bad movies. So I've never seen a studio just blatantly talk about how they make bad movies and that's a selling point for their new movie. Obviously all these movies were successful, so it does make sense. It's just, I don't know, for me, I think all those movies are garbage. and then they're like, hey, you want more garbage? So that made me laugh. Okay, let me back up actually. So the main thing to remember when thinking about these two weird references is that this is a Sony movie, okay? And Sony will do anything to get people to see their movie. We have to remember that this is the studio that once suggested that the movie Life, this sci-fi horror movie that nobody cared about, might be a Venom prequel, because I thought people might see it then. This is the studio that said that Tom Holland might have a cameo in Venom, which he didn't. This is the studio that at one point tried to cross over Men in Black and the 21 Jump Street movies because they had no idea how to make a movie successful, and those were two brands that they owned. This is the studio that shot almost the entirety of The Amazing Spider-Man 2 so that they would have cool scenes for the trailer. This is the kind of shit that Sony pulls. They don't make movies, they make products. And the best way to make those products successful is to have a trailer that gets people excited for the movie. That's why these things are here. That's why there is a reference to the Spider-Man movies that people like, and as well as the Vulture, a character from a Spider-Man movie that people liked. This is not new material for Sony. This is something that Sony's been trying to get working for many years now. During their Amazing Spider-Man run, they were really trying to get a Sinister Six movie working, as well as other spin-offs and villain movies. There was a Black Cat, Silver Sable team-up movie that was gonna happen for the longest time. They wanted to do an Aunt May prequel at one point. Like, this is the kind of dumb ideas that Sony has. And that's where this is coming from. Yeah, so first of all, the Raimi reference. Why is there a Raimi reference? Is this perhaps taking place in that universe? No. If you look closely, and thankfully people on the internet have, they've actually found that this is not a screenshot from the Raimi movies, which is what I thought it was, but it's actually a screenshot from the PS4 game with the Raimi suit in that game, which makes it an even stranger reference. So why is that there? Most likely, Sony went to Google Images and looked up high-res photos of Spider-Man, or they looked in their own archives of high-res images of Spider-Man that they own, and the laziest option was to use the PS4 Raimi suit because it's a very high-res image and it looks very Spider-Man-esque, and use that as reference for the graffiti art. Such a lazy move that hasn't been seen since Disney used an image of a Palpatine action figure for the Rise of Skywalker poster. So that's why that is there, and why it looks like a picture taken from a real source and not actual graffiti art. So number two, the Michael Keaton scene. Now this is very confusing because Sony has said multiple times that this is more or less a separate thing from the Spider-Man Homecoming movies. Maybe it would be connected to Venom at most, as they're trying to kind of start their own Spider-Man villain Sinister Six universe, which nobody cares about. So my thought with the Michael Keaton scene is it's probably Vulture, but it's definitely the last scene in the movie, if not the end credit scene. Because, again, this is Sony. This is the kind of thing that they do. They're more than willing to show the last scene of the movie in the trailer. They're also more than willing to show parts of end credit scenes in the trailers. They shoot for the trailer. They don't know what movie they're making. When they were doing Amazing Spider-Man 2, they shot scenes with Mary Jane and shots with his dad alive again. At one point, there was a scene where Norman Osborn came back, but he was just a head in a jar. Like, this is the kind of crazy shit Sony does. So I will bet you anything that the scene with Vulture is the last scene in the movie. I'm willing to bet real money on this. I have no doubt that this is an end credit scene, or at the very least a end, like, final scene in the movie. Because this is the shit that Sony pulls. Notice that nobody is talking about the plot of this movie, because nobody cares about Morbius. He's the guy that gets vampire powers. Who cares? If he's not fighting Spider-Man, I don't care. Now, I said the same thing about Venom, and lots of people saw Venom, so whatever. But Venom is a very popular villain, so I at least understand that from that perspective. Nobody cares about Morbius. When was the last time Morbius did anything outside of the 90s animated series? Like really, please tell me. If you're a Morbius fan, please tell me. Please let me know. But, like, honestly, nobody cares. And that's why there's so much, like, other Spider-Man shit in this trailer. Because Sony knows that nobody cares about Morbius. So they're like, Raimi Spider-Man, Vulture, he's here too. Remember all those Spider-Man movies and Venom that we made? Well, it's just gonna be like that. Because that's, at the bottom line, that's the only thing that Sony cares about, is getting butts in seats. They don't care how they do it. They don't care if the movie is anywhere close to what is in the trailer, because they make products. They make shitty movies that are just to get butts in seats. They don't care if it connects to other universes that have established, like, lore and worlds and a bunch, because if it connects to Homecoming, right, then it's like, well, then it's connected to the rest of the MCU, because those movies are so intrinsically tied to Iron Man. Also, like, the only other thing that stood out to me in this trailer is, like, some of the special effects look like shit. And, oh, look, we got an After Effects plugin. And also he has echolocation powers, which I think is the funniest thing ever. Now, you might say, maybe I'm being too cynical. Maybe Sony genuinely wants to throw some references in for the fans, to, you know, get them excited, and to, you know, have some fun Easter eggs and references in there. And to really, like, actually pay homage to the comics and to the thing that Spider-Man is from. And I will call bullshit on that, because number one, if that were true, why is the graffiti art of Spider-Man not actual graffiti art? Why not hire an actual artist to do a depiction of Spider-Man? You know, kind of like what they did in the Avengers movies when they had depictions of Iron Man in graffiti. Or have it be a reference to a specific art from the comics and license that comic art. Like, imagine if this image was like an Alex Ross picture of Spider-Man. That would look fucking awesome. And that would be paying tribute to what Spider-Man is actually about, which is, you know, a comic book character. As for the Vulture thing, like, it's gotta be the end credit scene. Like, I just can't picture him having a role in this movie about a guy that gets vampire powers any other way. Like, otherwise this is just the sequel to Dracula Untold that we never got.
Let the games begin.
So that's my take on this stupid ass Morbius trailer. This is the only thing I have anything to say about currently. Wow. I'm probably gonna see this movie. Not because I want to, but because I work at a movie theater and get free movies now. So, look forward to that. Honestly, I will bet you anything that the Vulture is an end credit scene. Or at least the final scene of the movie. At least there's no big business bad man in this trailer.
Big business bad man.
Also, Tyrese has a robot arm, so that could be fun. Oh, Matt Smith, he's probably big business bad man. Yeah, it's gonna be Matt Smith. That's my prediction. I forgot he was in this. Even though I just have been watching the trailer non-stop. Yeah, that's all I gotta say. Remember who Sony is. Don't get excited for the Morbius movie, because Morbius is a dumb character and nobody cares about him. And this movie will make $1 billion.
Spider blood, radio wire, spider blood, spider blood, spider blood.